Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. We are back in a set 21 reveals, and today I'll be going over the blue Oob archetype coming out in the new set. I already talked about the blue counterparts list, which is the blue baby archetype. I think those cards are pretty impressive. I haven't tested the deck yet. Right now I'm testing the yellow archetypes, but we have a long ways to go before the set actually releases, so plenty of time to do that. But anyways, we will get into that. But first, I want to point your attention to the Xenoverse tournament being hosted by The Lookout, which is an excellent European channel for the Dragon Ball Super card game. They're hosting this global tournament. The Xenoverse tournament is a no ban, no limits, and reversal of most erratas, and it's gonna be a really fun online thing. We actually did one of these, man, I think it was like 4 years ago at this point, at the Tournament of Power, the independent tournament that we hosted in partnership with Dalemac and Shenron's Lair. So yeah, it's a whole ton of fun for this just general theme, and I'm going to link the Lookout's Discord down in the description so you guys can get more info about it if you want to sign up. I do believe it's free entry, so that's one way to kind of entice you guys. But yeah, they do a ton of favors for me, so I really have no problem shouting them out. I really appreciate everything the Lookout does for the community and as well as this channel. So yeah, really appreciate them. Want to shout this out, definitely go ahead and check it out. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the cards. We have the Oob Leader. When this card attacks, draw 1, awaken your life at 4 or less, or there is a blue Mr. Boozy battle card with energy cost of 2 in play. Draw 1 on tap 1 and go down to 6 life. Then we have Oob and Mr. Boo, Resonating Spirits. Auto, when this card attacks, draw 1. Additionally, if this card attacks your opponent's leader and there are no cards in your opponent's combo area at the beginning of that battle's damage step, draw 1 card. Okay, basically, you attack your opponent, you draw. If they don't combo, you draw again. Very, very cool effect. Now, I think with all these leaders that go down to 6 life on Awaken, we've had this since, what, like set 15, maybe even a little earlier. There's not much reason for your opponent to combo out of that first damage that would bring them down to 5, unless they wanted to specifically stop you from drawing a card, in which case you're not drawing a card, but they're losing a card. The only time that would be heavily advantageous for the opponent is if they needed that Z energy like immediately, in which case, yeah, they're denying your draw and setting up the Z energy that they need. But if they're not in a situation like that, if they don't need that immediate Z energy, they're just losing a card to prevent you from drawing a card, which is still a win-win for the Oob player. That's a very, very interesting effect that makes the leader seem very good. Activate main once per turn, add up to 1 battle card, your opponent's dropped to their Z energy. Okay, so that's the gimmick of this archetype. We're giving our opponent Z energy, which many people are saying makes this archetype very bad. I'm not willing to pass judgment on that yet. We still have many cards to read, but here's my initial thoughts on this. Yes, giving your opponent a resource to play with generally doesn't sound like a good thing, but Z energy is only so usable on a given turn. Don't forget that Z cards cost actual regular energy a lot of the time. Like, yeah, in the blue matchup, it's not going to feel great to give your opponent the Z energy leading up to their Android 17 depending friends coming online, but once they have 3, I mean, there's really no difference between 3 Z energy and 5 Z energy and 7 Z energy. It's really all the same because they just can't possibly use that much Z energy in one turn or even across several turns. It just isn't super realistic. So once you get them to this critical mass of Z energy, it kind of doesn't matter. And then, like, look at the yellow matchup. They don't go to their Z deck that often in general, so neither does the black archetypes really. So giving them that much Z energy doesn't really matter all that much. And the current red decks are already making a ton of Z energy, although if Sin and Gogeta do see significant hits, I mean, the other red decks are going to greatly appreciate Oob giving them more Z energy to play with because red Z deck cards are very strong. But I think blue has some of the best answers to red Z deck cards. So all in all, my point is, I don't think that giving your opponent all the Z energy is inherently as bad as people are making it out to be. Yes, it's obviously not amazing to give your opponent a resource to play with, but once you have that critical mass of Z energy, it kind of doesn't matter how much you give them anymore. But anyways, we have the Z leader for the deck. We have the 20k 3 Z energy cost, Z awaken for a blue. You have 3 or less life and you place 1 blue Mr. Boo from your drop under this card. It goes over a blue Oob. Funnily enough, this will work over the much older blue Oob leader as well, although I mean, I don't really think that leader is going to offer much. But anyways, auto once per turn, this card attacks, draw 1, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and add it to the owner's Z energy. So it does offer your removal, but again, it gives it to the Z energy. So once you hit that critical mass, I mean, you don't care how much Z energy they have typically. Then we have activate main once per turn. If your opponent has 5 or more Z energy, choose one of your blue Oob battle cards under a blue Mr. Boo and switch it to active mode. So this is worded very strangely, but basically what's been confirmed so far is that when you untap a card under a stack of cards, you restand the whole stack. That is, from what I've heard, been confirmed by some high-level judges in the game. Of course, we'll have to wait and see for the official FAQ to drop on this. Hopefully they cover this specific topic. But yeah, if you're going to test this deck, that's the ruling to go with as of right now. Activate battle once per turn. If your opponent has 10 or more Z energy, this card gets plus 10k power and double strike for the battle. Pretty cool that it's usable on both players' turns, so you do get a free 10k combo once defensively per turn on top of a 20k leader. That's pretty cool, I gotta say. All right, then we have our Z deck battle cards, which of course are our awakening mechanic. Basically, we have Mr. Boo, Majin Defender, 2 energy, 1 Z energy, blocker, Z stack 1, blue Oob, energy cost of 3. Permanent, if your leader is a blue Oob, your opponent has a leader who is a Z leader, has 3 or more Z energy, or a Z battle card in play, and this card will be removed from a battle area. You may play 1 blue Oob with energy cost of 3 from under this card on top of this card in active mode instead. Okay, if I'm understanding this correctly, you only have to meet one of those requirements, one of those 4 requirements, and that means this is somewhat playable in other blue decks, which might be kind of neat. But yeah, if I'm getting that wrong, let me know in the comments, but I think at least it's how I'm understanding it. Auto, when this card's played, your opponent draws a card and adds 1 card from the hand to their Z energy. Okay, now these effects, which there are a couple in this deck, I don't really like. Basically, you're giving your opponent an extra draw, which then gives them a ton of options, and then they can put their worst card from their hand into their Z energy. I kind of wish it just like put the top card of their deck in their Z energy, or maybe even the bottom card of their deck in their Z energy. This way, because you are giving your opponent a resource to play with, so I don't want to give them the full benefit of like drawing a card and then just putting the worst card in the Z energy. Although maybe it'd be kind of too broken to put a key card from a random location into their Z energy, but I really don't think it'd be that bad because you're still giving them a resource to play with. Like, yeah, you might sometimes put in an SCR in their Z energy or a super combo in their Z energy, but I mean, that's so rarely going to happen that I think it would have been fine and it would make the archetype a little bit better, but that's just my opinion. Anyways, going off on a tangent, we have Oob, Holder of Majin Power, 3 cost, 20k, 2 Z energy, but of course you're going to play it from under Mr. Boo, Majin Defender. When this card's played, this card gains barrier for the turn. Auto limit 1 if your leader's a blue Oob and it's your turn. When one of your opponent's cards is added to their Z energy, choose one of your opponent's battle cards from their battle area or drop and add it to the owner's Z energy. Some removal there. Active battle once per turn. If your opponent has 3 or more Z energy, you have an Oob in a battle that should include your leader. Place up to 2 cards top of your deck in your drop, then use one of your mono blue cards with a combo power of 5,000 from your drop in a combo with its skills negated for the turn. So some more Z energy generation for yourself, definitely pretty appreciated. All right, now we have our early game cards. We have Hercule, Friends, Defense, 1 cost, 1k, auto when this card's played. Look at top 5 cards of your deck, add up to 1 Mr. Boo or Earthling with energy cost of 4 or less to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Activate limit 1, place this card in your drop, play up to 1 Mr. Boo in disguise from your deck or hand, then shuffle your deck if you look through it. So you can find the Mr. Boo right to the right of this card, which, man, this artwork is haunting me with how terribly yikes this guy's face looks. But anyways, auto this card's played from your hand, draw 1. Auto limit 1 if your leader is a blue Oob and your opponent has 3 or less Z energy. When this card is used in a combo, your opponent draws 1 card, then your opponent adds 1 card from the hand to the Z energy. Again, same opinion that I gave a minute ago with the drawing card, then adding a Z energy. Yes, you do want to basically ramp your opponent's Z energy, but I wish it was in a less beneficial way to the opponent. Then we have Hercule, Earth's Champion, which also has quite a few people talking about it. This is a 2-drop 1k. We have counterplay. All you do is play this card, but then you can obviously activate the auto. If your leader's a blue Oob, when this card's played, draw 2 cards. Okay, so in this leader specifically, this is almost just a better Sand Instinct Son Goku. Like, you don't have to worry about getting this card into the drop. You have flexibility of using it during your opponent's turn if you have extra energy to spend. It's also kind of neat that this helps you play around Broly Crown. Like, for example, against a red deck, if you leave 3 open, you can counterplay with this for 2 and then draw 2 cards. Now they can't Broly Crown you. However, it is weak to counterplays, but hey, in the red matchup, if they're going to Beerus Ball this and not my Android 17 defending friends, I'm probably going to be pretty okay with that. Like, yes, this is stoppable with counterplays, but I mean, those counterplays are generally going to be used for floodgates. But yeah, I mean, sometimes getting me to spend 2 energy and then counterplaying it can be beneficial. It's all kind of contextual, but yeah, I think this card is like fine, not amazing, but if you're going to play Sand Instincts, you will probably just play Hercule, Earth's Champion in specifically an Oob deck. All right, then we have Mr. Boo for Friendship. 3 cost, 15k, blocker. When this card's played, you and your opponent draw 1. Then your opponent adds 1 card from the end of the Z energy, and then activate main limit 1 for a blue. If your leader is a blue Oob and you have 2 or more energy, just simply play this card from your hand. So pretty cheap blocker there that also replaces itself. Oob Warrior left on Earth. So I'm going to start from the bottom because I feel like it makes the most sense. Active main limit 1 for a blue. If your leader is a blue Oob and you have 2 or more energy, play this card from your hand. Auto, when this card attacks, use up to 1 mono blue card of 5k combo from your drop in a combo. That skill is negated for the turn. And then Union Absorb limit 1 for no energy cost. Kind of neat. If your leader is a blue Oob, your opponent has 5 or more Z energy, and you place 1 blue Mr. Boo from your drop under this card. Play up to 1 blue Oob, an energy cost of 6 from your deck on top of this card in active mode, then shuffle your deck. I like that a lot. You can attack with this, you can get its auto, and then Union for free into the 6-drop Oob here. We have a 20k activating limit 1. If your leader is a mono blue Earthling or Majin, and your opponent has 2 or more energy, play this card from your hand. Auto limit 1, when this card is played from your deck or hand, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards and add it to the owner's Z energy. Then place this card from the battle area under your opponent's leader at the end of the turn. Then play this card from under your opponent's leader at the start of your main phase. Lots of interesting stuff going on there. You won't get the auto replay effect because it's only activated when played from your deck or hand. It's also kind of like an interesting protection because for the time that's under your opponent's leader, it can't be removed, so it can't be killed, which is kind of a cool like pseudo barrier type of thing. And then permanent, if it's your turn and this card is under a leader, the leader on top of this card gets minus 5k power, and this card can't be removed from your leader by other skills other than this card's skill. Another cool permanent. So while your opponent controls this, their awakened leader will be a 10k, so it won't be able to actually damage you without combo. That's kind of cool. I mean, I like the unique design approach to this card for sure. How great is it? I'm not totally sure. I mean, I definitely like the way these cards read. For a blue archetype, both this and Blue Baby, these cards are all very cheap on energy investment, which I think is kind of a good thing in and of itself. All right, then we have Oob Intercepting Kamehameha, 4 drop 20k, active main limit 1 for 2 blue. If your leader is a blue Oob, play this card from your hand. Another free Union Absorb. If your leader is a blue Oob, your opponent has 5 or more Z energy, you place 1 blue Mr. Boo from your drop under this card. Play up to 1 blue Oob, energy cost of 8 and 30k power from your deck on top of this card in active mode, and then shuffle your deck. Then we have Oob Focused Full Strength Blow, 8 cost 30k, deflect double strike permanent. Reduce energy cost of this card in your hand by 3 for each card in your opponent's Z energy. So if I'm reading this correctly, simply for your opponent having 2 Z energy, this costs 2, so that should be very, very simple to do in this deck. Auto limit 1, if your leader is a mono blue and your opponent has 3 or more energy, when this card is played, draw 1 card, choose up to a total of 3 battle cards in your opponent's battle area or drop and add them to owner's Z energy. And then auto once per turn, if you and your opponent have a total of 7 or more Z energy, when your opponent activates counter, they add 1 card from their hand to the owner's Z energy. Okay, this card is beast. This card is really good. Obviously, it's going to kind of require you to set up your opponent's Z energy, which might make this card a little bit less playable outside of the Oob archetype. But if you're playing against a deck that makes a lot of Z energy, then this is going to be great. And you're punishing your opponent for floodgating you, which is so important in the modern era of Dragon Ball Super. And this card's playable in any blue leader for the most part. So I think this is actually a really good SR and a card that makes Oob just definitely a little bit better. But yeah, I'm definitely liking it. All right, now we have a couple defensive cards. We have Full Strength Absorption, 1 cost counter attack, negate the attack. Additionally, if your opponent has 4 or more Z energy, draw 1 card. I always love when we have counterattacks that simply draw a card, and this one should be super easy to pull off against any deck you're playing while you're playing Oob. So like, you know, 3-4 copies of D-Magic, maybe 2 copies of this to pull off after the D-Magic and then get your draws. I like that a lot. If your leader's a blue Oob and your life's at 4 or less, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying its energy cost by discarding a blue Mr. Boo from your hand. So you can activate it for free, get the draw, and that counteracts the discard cost, which just makes it a regular negate. Very cool. Pan Brave Defense, 4 cost 15k blocker. Counter play, limit 1, play this card. Permanent, if your leader is a blue Oob Z leader, it becomes a 1 cost, and when this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with a cost of 4 or less and place it at the bottom of the owner's deck. Another incredible card. Another great card to help you play against Broly Crown. Just generally very, very good card. And then SS3 Son Goku Warrior Savior, 3 cost 20k, unique blocker, auto limit 1. If your leader is a blue Oob and one of your blue Oob cards with a cost of 6 or more is removed from your battle area by a skill, play this card from your hand. Auto once per turn. When you activate blocker on this card, switch this card to active mode. 20k free play that if any of your Oobs get removed, this thing just comes in, double blocks, also attacks for 20k. Yeah, these 3 cards are really, really good. So overall, I mean, I like a lot of what this deck is doing. Again, of course, giving your opponent Z energy in the beginning is going to be a downside, but once you have that critical mass, I mean, who cares if they have 7, 8, 9, or 10 Z energy, right? Obviously, this is going to require some pretty significant hits to the other leading blue decks in order for this thing to really shine. But I gotta say, I like everything I've read. There was something I read where I was like, wow, this is garbage. But I know you guys might disagree. Of course, I want in the comments below what you guys do think about this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.